URLs function inside Python very much like files. So these are short and to the point and very simple, and I hope that they were useful to you. So now we're going to talk about what you would do with a web page once you've retrieved it in a Python program. Call this web scraping. And so web scraping or web spidering is the act of retrieving a web page, extracting the links from those web pages, making a queue of unretrieved links, and then moving on. And eventually the idea is if you had enough time, energy, bandwidth, and storage, you could find your way to most of the web pages on the internet that are point to or are pointed to by other web pages. And so you might have all kinds of reasons to scrape data. You might have a blog that you posted. You might have, who knows, maybe you put some data in a system. Maybe the system's being shut down because it's being retired. You can do all kinds of things. You could write a little thing. I was talking to somebody who wrote a thing to retrieve something and check, and then send a text when something changed. All kinds of stuff. Or you might make yourself a search engine. But be careful. Not all websites are happy about you using a robot to retrieve their content. Some of the websites, as we'll see, demand that you log in and they track what you do, and if they think you're doing something bad, they will shut your account off. Other websites will track what you're doing without you logging in, but then shut your address off. And so you have to be careful. You should read up. You should figure out what sites allow you to scrape them. Now I have some sites that I've set up that you can play with to make it so that it's legit. So parsing HTML is difficult. Some of the simple examples, you could probably write a regular expression or, certainly some splitting and some whatever. And what you would find is you would write that code and you'd retrieve your first 5 web pages and it would seem to work. And then would encounter some really weird but legitimate HTML or maybe even sort of slightly broken HTML. So the web is full of broken HTML and your browsers just look at it and go like, oh, wow, more broken HTML. But they don't put up error messages. And so people just leave broken pages up. But your Python program is going to see those broken pages. So what you would do is you're like, oh, here's a new weird way to do an anchor tag. I'll change my code. Oh, and then run for another 100 pages. Like, oh, no, here's a new weird way to do an anchor tag. And the problem is that you're going to find a lot of different ways to mess up an anchor tag. And someone's already done that. There's a software called Beautiful Soup, and we have installation instructions on how to use it. And really what it is it's somebody just spent months figuring out all the nasty things that could happen and compensated for it and gave you a nice wrapped interface that just says, look, you give me the HTML and I'll give you back the tags. Okay? And so it's called Beautiful Soup. And so you have to install this. There's a couple of ways that you can install this. If you're good at extending your Python, you can just extend and install Beautiful Soup for all Python programs. If you can't change your computer's configuration because you're on a school computer or you're using a USB stick or something, then there's a way to download this file that I created called bs4.zip. And so what you do is you end up with your file called URL links.py and then a little folder called bs4, which is a folder that has a bunch of files in it from the zip file, and then you can run it. And so it'll pull it in and you'll import from bs4 Beautiful Soup, and that's either going to pull it in from the folder you do, or if you've installed it using the Python installer, it will also you don't have to put this file in. So it's up to you. You can either do it one of two ways. So this is a little bit of code. Now, Beautiful Soup is a complex library, and so just because this looks easy, doing things in Beautiful Soup, you might have to actually read a bit more to figure it out. But we're going to just read this. We're going to import Beautiful Soup. We're going to ask for URL right here. We're going to take that URL. We're going to open it. URL open, give URL, and read the whole thing. That means we're not writing a loop. We've read the whole thing. That's okay as long as you know that the file's not so large. And then we're going to pass the data we got back. And this is going to be bytes, but Beautiful Soup knows all about bytes and all about UTF-8 and figures that out. And you just say, hey, take that stuff I just got and tear it apart using HTML and give me back an object, a soup object. Now, the soup object is something that you can run queries against. So it parses it. It deals with all the imperfections and inconsistencies in this HTML byte array. And it fixes that and gives that back. And so there's various things you can do. You got to go look at the Beautiful Soup documentation. It could be a whole class on Beautiful Soup. So here's the thing you can do is this object, you can sort of call it like a function and say, hey, give me back the anchor tags. And anchor tags, of course, are the tags that say href equals blah, 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 /a. So all of this is an anchor tag. And then we're going to loop through the tags because there could be more than one of those anchor tags in the file. And then we're going to pull out that href. And that's what this does. We're going to loop through all the tags and print out the href. So if you tell it to go to drchuck.com, it will show you the one external link in drchuck.com. And so I've got an assignment that sort of goes into that in some more detail. But this chapter has been a whole bunch of interesting stuff. We started with a TCP/IP model and talked about sockets that are phone calls between computers, and then how applications, protocols are developed to say what we say on those phone calls. And we've explored then the HTTP protocol, which is probably the most likely thing you're going to see. And then we played with all this in Python and saw that Python is really good at this. You can write extremely simple and small programs to do some extremely complex and powerful things. And again, that's why people like Python, is because it makes the complex simple. We're going to do a little bit of sample code. If you're interested in getting the sample code, you can download this zip here at pythonforeverybody.com, materials.php, and you will download and you will get all the files, and all the files that I'm looking at here. And so the one I'm going to play with today is a file called urllinks.py. So the first thing you got to do before urllinks.py works is you have got to install Beautiful Soup. I've got some simple instructions at the beginning of the file. And so one way to do it is install it using Python install process to install this Beautiful Soup for all Python applications. And if you are the owner of your computer, you're going to use Beautiful Soup a lot. It's a fine idea to do that. But I want to show you in a simpler way that if you don't own your own computer and you just want to make it so that Beautiful Soup works, you can download this file right here, Beautiful Soup 4.zip, unzip it, and put it in the same folder as here. And so if you look in this folder, I have a subfolder called BS4, and that's the unzipped version of this. And it has these things. I didn't write this code, so I'm sorry if the name is bad, but this is the code to BS4, and this is what's in BS4.zip, and it's in the same folder as urllinks.py. And so what happens is when you do this from BS4 import Beautiful Soup, that either can go to sort of this global magic place that Python installs stuff and pulls in the Beautiful Soup object, or it can go to the folder BS4 and pull it in, okay? And so that's how that works. So you have to do one of these two things. I prefer to keep it simple, download and unzip this file and put it in the same folder as this code, and away you go. So from the previous example, we're going to use urllib, of course, and then we're going to pull in the Beautiful Soup from the Beautiful Soup 4 library. We're going to get the Beautiful Soup object. Now, if you do this with SSL, if these websites we're going to play with have SSL, and these 3 lines, don't worry too much about it. The whole idea, you can do Google on Stack Overflow and figure this out, but this is a way to ignore errors when SSL is typically errors. And so we have to add this parameter context equals CTX, which is the variable we create. So this part and this part sort of just do them. You don't take them out actually. Otherwise you're going to HTTPS. So let's take a look at what we're doing other than dealing with the HTTPS part. It has to use a URL. We're going to retrieve all the HTML. We're going to do a URL open, like we did before. Now this will return us something we can do line by line with a for loop, but instead we're going to say, hey, read the whole thing. Now that basically returns us the entire document at that web page. a single big string with 2 lines each line. And this is not Unicode, it's probably UTF-8 string. It turns out Beautiful Soup knows how to deal with UTF-8 and it also knows how to deal with Unicode string. So what we're saying is Beautiful Soup, read through and deal with all the nasty bits, right? So HTML is like very, very flexible. So page 1 HTML. And so take a look at the source of this new page source. This bit, you know, I might be able to do regular expressions, but it does things like break stuff across lines. There could be a line right here. There could be all kinds of things, right? And so writing regular expressions or splits or whatever is really hard for HTML. And so what we do is someone's written this called Beautiful Soup. And it's basically, this is the code, and it's based on a joke from a children's story. It basically someone just went through and figured all the bad things that could possibly happen in reading Parsing HTML. So either you use it or you literally derive all the things that doesn't work. And so when we look at this line right here, this line at a high level is saying, we're giving you ugly, nasty HTML that make no sense whatsoever. Please read it and have all the brains you have and all the weird stuff. Figure that out for us and give us back an object. I happen to call it soup. You don't have to call it soup. An object, and that is a proxy for that HTML. But this soup object is clean. And so what we can do is we can sort of retrieve all the anchor tags. So we can talk to this object and say, ask it, give me the anchor tags. What's an anchor tag? Well, if we take a look at this source, the anchor tag is the A through the /A. That is the tag. It is the tag. It is attributes that are on the tag. It is the text within the tag and everything. So that's what we're going to get. Now, I call it tags plural, not because plural matters at all, but because we're going to get a list of tags. Because even though this web page has lots and lots of tags, if we look at, say, drchuck.com and view source, well, that's kind of small. View page source, right? And we go look for A anchor tags. We got 45 of them, and they all kind of have weird stuff in them, right? So this line will give us back a list of tags. It will give us all the tags in this document. So it goes, the tag goes from there to there. And then what we're going to do is going to write a loop through all the tags. So that's basically hopping, like it's hopping through the document, sort of like this. That's what it's doing. Hop, 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 hop. And it's pulling out the text of the href so it's going to pull out this bit right here. So that's all of that. There's no closing code here, but it's going to work because HTML soup is like, oh, I know what to do about that. I can deal with that. So check to see that one. That's what it's today. That's what it's too late. So we're going to read through it and pull out all HTML. So this is probably thousands of lines of code that you really don't want to run. So .py. And so let's start with a simple one. http://www.drchuck.com. Reads it. Oh, that's actually the hard one. We got a whole bunch of. See the Sugi one work. We found that one. Sorry, I have to is there another Sugi? Oh no, I didn't find that one. That's kind of funky. Look, it's not wrong, but that's okay. So you see, it found all these and did a lot of nice stuff for us. If we do it, Python 3, URL links, py, and do the easy one. Dr-chuck.com page 1.html. In there. Now, the SSL is if you are looking at a page that has SSL Python. Well, so I'll go to like https://edu, and that will be a bunch of links, so you'll see. If it wasn't for that, so all kinds of stuff.
Did you know that learning how to code and getting a job as a software developer is the quickest and easiest path to a six-figure salary? In fact, it's estimated that nearly 200,000 new coding jobs will be created this year, with an average starting salary of $75,000 for a junior programmer, according to Indeed.com. With those kind of stats, you should ask yourself one question. What's holding you back from the career and salary of your dreams and getting just a small piece of that pie? Now listen, before you start firing off excuses left and right, we need to let you in on a little secret. We've heard it all before. I don't have a college degree. I don't have the money to go back to college for 4 more years. I don't have the time. I don't know how to code. What if you could learn how to code with as little as 4 to 5 hours a week over the next 6 months and be virtually guaranteed to find a job in coding before making any type of significant investment? Here at the Programmer's Coach, that's exactly what we do. Help people go from not knowing how to code to making a significant salary as a junior programmer, and fast. Our proprietary course and coaching helps you learn how to code much faster.
Millionaires, that's every single day. But what is it?